Hello. So this lesson's goal is teaching you the first part of simplifying expressions. What does that mean? When you simplify an expression, two things happen. One, no like terms remain. Second, there are no parentheses. We're going to use some examples to demonstrate this, but make sure you have your notes page in front of you because we are going to be listing the steps to start. There are 5 steps to simplifying expressions. Because we are in phase 1, you will notice one of the steps is missing. We're going to be adding that step later on. So to start, step 1 is to rewrite as sums. You want no subtraction signs in your expression. Remember to use KFC to change any subtraction to add the opposite. Step 2, we're going to add that later. Step 3, identify like terms and combine. We're going to be using highlighters or colored pencils to make this step a little easier, so make sure you have those materials as well. In step 4, you are going to arrange in the following order. Variable terms with exponents go first, then variable terms, and last, your constant. The last step is, if needed, you are going to eliminate parentheses using KFC again. So these steps are going to make a lot more sense once we apply them. We're going to use 3 examples today to show you how to apply these steps. Again, make sure you have highlighters or different colored pencils to help you with this. We're going to start with 2W plus 8W plus 3 plus 4W. What you will see here is in step 1, I want to make sure I have no subtraction. So I don't, all ands or all addition signs. Step 2 comes later, so the next thing on my list is identify like terms. Here's where your colors come into play. I'm going to start with my 2W and my 8W. Remember that these have to be exactly the same variable. This would not get combined because it's a variable that has an exponent attached to it. So my first like terms here would be 2W plus 8W. So that's going to be 10W and 3 and 4W squared. The next step tells me to arrange in order. So first of all, I want to point out that I have a constant and I have a variable with an exponent. On my list, in my notes, it tells me to start with my variables with exponents. So writing this in simplest form is going to be 4W, 2, second power, and 10W, and 3. This expression is simplified because I cannot combine any like terms. There are no like terms left, and there are no parentheses. So this would be my final answer. Let's take a look at another example and apply our steps. Here we have 3y minus 6 minus 8y and 5 and w. Step 1 tells me to rewrite the problem by adding the opposite. I want no subtraction. So I'm going to, let me show you that in the problem. Add the opposite, and that will get rid of all of my subtractions. I actually want you to rewrite it like this so that you have a brand new problem, putting parentheses around any negative constants. Or variables. So now my problem reads 3y and a negative 6 and a negative 8y and 5 and w. I'm going to start by finding my like terms and combining them. So I have 3y here and a negative 8y here. Then I notice that I have 2 constants, negative 6 and 5. So I'm going to choose a different color because I know that I'm going to need to combine those. I'm left with just a W. Remember, W also means one W. And I can start my combining. So I have 3y and a negative 8y. Well, 3 and a negative 8 is going to be a negative 5. So I have negative 5y. Then I have a negative 6 and a negative, negative 6 and a positive 5. So that means, since I have different signs, I find the difference. And I'm left with a negative 1. Negative 5y and a negative 1. Then my very last piece is this W. So again, I want to make sure I'm writing them in order. So I start with my variables with exponents. I don't have any of those. Then I just make sure I have my variables. So negative 5y and W and negative 1. The very last step we didn't do in the last example is, if needed, eliminate the parentheses with KFC. So what that means is I'm going to rewrite this back to a subtraction problem. Keep this, flip this, and change this. So I have negative 5y and keep my W, change this to subtraction, and then a positive 1. That way, again, I have no parentheses, and I have no like terms to combine. So my final answer from this simplified is a negative 5y plus W minus 1. In our last example, we've got some rational numbers here in the form of decimals. So step 1 is to rewrite using KFC. Here I have minus 5, so I'm going to add a negative 5. And then I'm going to rewrite this. So I have 1 and 2.5r and 4.3r and a negative 5. Now I'm going to use my different colors, and I'm going to circle my like terms. So I have a 1 and a negative 5 that can go together. And I have a 2.5r and a 4.3r. Now, since I'm getting comfortable with my steps, I know that my variable terms are going to go first. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to add 2.5 plus 4.3. 2.5 plus 4.3. Since I'm adding rational numbers, decimals, I'm going to line the decimals up, bring my decimal point down, double check, and I'm going to have 6.8r. And then I have my 1 and my negative 5. That's going to give me a negative 4. My very last step says, if needed, eliminate with KFC. So I want to get rid of these parentheses. So I'm going to put that subtraction back in because I don't want any parentheses. So I keep flip change. 6.8r minus the opposite of negative 4 is positive. So my final answer is 6.8r minus 4. Double check that your notes are complete, and we'll be practicing some of these in class.